DevilNeverCry.
What is up, everybody? It is me, DevilNeverCry, and we are back with another Elden Ring video, this time covering 5 top tips for beginners to help you along your journey. Elden Ring has been garnering a substantial amount of attention, and with that comes numerous curious players who are playing a Souls game for the very first time. So hopefully those of you who don't know what to expect or who are struggling with Elden Ring can use this video as a bit of a guide. Without further ado, let's dive right in. The first tip that I kind of want to go over here is exercising patience and exercising caution. And this is for numerous reasons. The first of which is that Souls games have devious enemy designs and layouts. Specifically, they are designed to lull you into a false sense of security and then ambush you when you're least expecting it. Take your time when approaching enemies and don't rush, lest you find yourself amidst a flurry of enemy blades. But I also suggest the use of caution and patience when confronting enemies to avail you from further frustration, because if you take the time to analyze enemies, you'll find yourself breezing through encounters that you may have been struggling through. Those of you that have played hardcore action games like DevilNeverCry or Ninja Gaiden on the harder difficulties will know what I'm talking about, as victory is decided upon you actually analyzing and paying attention to what the enemies do. Similarly, in Elden Ring, if you pay attention to an enemy, you'll likely be able to tell what cues they're giving out. Usually they'll give out some sort of audio cue and visual cue to let you know that they are about to attack, and it's at this point that you know that you need to dodge and block. Similarly, there'll be cues when they're rearing up for specific attacks to let you know that perhaps you should rush in, go ahead and stagger them before they're able to get a specific attack out. Of course, this is nothing groundbreaking. Modern game design revolves around this function, but it is something that a lot of people seldom think about when rushing into encounters. My next tip is don't be afraid to explore. Go out there, search every nook and cranny of the game world, and you may be surprised at what you find when you stray off the beaten path. You may come across something like a weapon, armor, or even a talisman that could give you the advantage against an enemy that's been giving you grief for quite a long time. And along with finding those items, sometimes you'll be able to find paths around the enemies, allowing you to circumvent them altogether. And sometimes you may find places that will give you an advantage when it comes to facing an enemy, which leads us into our next tip, which is the use of stealth. As the name implies, you are able to use stealth mechanics in Elden Ring to give you an advantage against enemies. The crouch mechanic allows you to move around virtually unnoticed, allowing you to line up a backstab, a critical attack which does critical damage. Of course, if you're engaged in open combat with an enemy already and stealth is not an option, you'll still be able to make use of a backstab, albeit it'll be a lot harder as you'll have to make your way to the back of an enemy, and in this game, they tend to do their best to avoid that happening at all costs. Pressing on, we come to tip number 4, which is avoid the frivolous use of weapon upgrade materials when necessary. From some of the closed betas, we know that you can use Ashes of War and Smithing Stone Shards to upgrade your weapons in Elden Ring. And whilst these materials may have been abundant in some of the closed beta tests, that may not be the case in the final game. So I would suggest that you choose your upgrades wisely, at least until the community finds the optimal farming strategies and routes, that is. And to juxtapose that viewpoint of being careful, we come to our final tip, tip number 5, where just remember it's okay to make mistakes and it's okay to die. It's all a learning process, trial and error. The more time you put into the game, the more likely you are to learn things and become a better player overall. As of late, the Souls games have built a bit of a reputation of being almost impossibly hard, which I think you'll find is probably not the case once you get stuck into it. And that if you're not playing these games with insane restrictions, like level 1, no rolling, no damage, fists only blindfolded, the list is endless, somehow you're playing these games wrong. And I do want to specify that this isn't something I usually see perpetuated in the Souls community, but just in general every time Souls is brought up, along with the usual get good scrub. But I say don't be afraid to play the game however you want. If you do want to go for a restricted run your first time through, fantastic. If you want to cheese your way through the game and you want to use co-op as much as possible, wonderful, more power to you. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day as long as you're having fun. And so, there you have it, my top 5 beginner tips for Elden Ring. If there's another tip you think I should have added, let me know down in the comments below. And with that, we come to the end of the video. If you enjoyed today's video, do be sure to leave a like and consider subscribing for more Elden Ring content. And with all that said and done, it has been me, DevilNeverCry. I'd like to thank all of you for watching, and as always, I'll see you all next video.